Well, hello everybody. We got a audience that's growing. I'm glad you guys could be here. This is not our typical podcast night. Yeah, I'll be out of town this weekend. One of the things we got going on this coming weekend, if you if you haven't been keeping up with upcoming events, the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival is happening 13th and 14th. Yes, October 13th and 14th, and I'll be headed down this weekend for that event. It's an event I attend every year. I speak there, and I'm looking forward to seeing the regulars and plus meeting new people as I always do. Um, a little bit about that event here. Yes, for those who know Michael Cook of Cook Cryptid Research and also the creator of Sasquatch, SOSS Squatch, all one word. It's some of the best barbecue sauce and hot sauce that I have ever tasted. And if you have not experienced Sasquatch, you need to check that out. There is a Facebook page for Sasquatch, and go on there. There is a website. You can go directly to the website at sasquatchllc.com and check that out. Actually, Sasquatch.com. Sasquatch LLC is the Facebook page itself. So, yes, October 13th and 14th, you'll find me and Michael Cook set up beside each other right in front of the building where we will be speaking at. There are actually two different times that we will both be speaking. I think my first time's I think it's around 1 o'clock. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. But times will be posted on the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival Facebook page and the event website, I believe. So if you're in and around the area, if you'd like to travel, come check that out. One thing, too, also to remind everybody, coming up for next year, we are promoting our annual ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference 2024, June 14th and the 15th. There'll be all Bigfoot, paranormal cryptids, and the unknown, a variety of vendors, plus the guest speakers, food, and more. At the same venue, at the Wares Cave Community Center in Wares Cave, Virginia. So if you want any other information, if you want to continue to follow that, we do have the Facebook event page. You can check that out and browse through that. Any questions you may have, your answers are on that page, or visit the website itself at vabigfootcon.com. All right, and then I know we have people on the live chat. Hello, Melissa. Hey, David. We have two people that are on the live chat. Melissa and David are both there. We got other viewers here. And tonight we have a special guest with us, Linda Sigman, and we're going to be talking to her very shortly. Let me see here. There she is backstage. We're about to bring her in right now.
All right.
Hello, Linda. Hi. How are you doing?
Well, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you could be here.
Thank you.
I do have absolutely one of the things I have to ask. I ask every guest, do I sound okay to you?
You sound great. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, very loud and clear. That's
now?
always yeah, exactly. Awesome. This is good to have you here. And like you heard me say in the beginning, this is not my normal podcast night. So normally I do this on Friday nights, but I'm not. It's no big deal. It works in my favor to make that adjustment. So we may actually have different viewers than we normally have because we have our regular scheduled viewers that come on every Friday night with us. But being that it's a Monday night, I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. And if you're just now jumping on, I'll be watching the live chat the best I can. So anyway, I try not to drag it out too long in the beginning. So Linda, you are from West Virginia, is that correct?
Yes, I live in Parkersburg. I've lived here for almost 6 years.
Okay, Parkersburg. Okay, that's probably in the northwestern part of West Virginia, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not far from Marietta, Ohio, if you're familiar with Marietta, and about an hour from Charleston.
Okay, right.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. So here, on Bigfoot Zone, we're here to talk about Bigfoot, and I'm sure and we do mix it up. We have some of our guests have experiences in other fields, which we always love to have, hear and learn about that. I know you're well involved with Bigfoot as far as following and researching and whatnot, but
yes.
I got to ask you, Well, how long have you been involved, and what exactly got you involved in this whole subject?
Well, I have a lot of paranormal activity that has followed me around all my life. I was one of the original Mothman's encounters in
Oh,
1967, and I spoke at the Mothman Festival this year for the first time. Um, but I've always been interested in Bigfoot. But after I saw Mothman, um, it just sort of opened up a new venue for me. And then when the Patterson Gimlin film came out about the same year, I started doing a little bit of research about that, and then I kind of went to the side, and I had a family and different things, and they grew up, and then I got a computer in 2015, and I started doing research about the paranormal, try to find out more answers about what all was happening with me as far as spirits and just all kinds of things that I encounter. And so I got a divorce in 2016, and I moved out here. And just about as soon as I moved out here, I started having activity. Well, I was out here by myself, and I just thought, well, it's my imagination. But it started almost from the first time that I moved out here. And my home is on a hillside in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains.
mm.
Behind me is a small creek called Badgley Creek. And because I'm interested in the outdoors and nature, collecting rocks and different things, I walk that creek. And I walked it daily from the time I've been out here. And I walk out there even in the wintertime if I can. And I started having a lot of strange things happen. But the first thing that happened to me was down in my bedroom. In the corner of my bedroom, I started getting knocking on the wall. Well, it's not an
Oh,
outside wall; it's an inside wall. So I thought, well, maybe it's from the basement. But the basement was locked, the windows were locked, and everything. So it went on, and it kept getting louder and louder, and it kept me awake at night. And finally, I just got up and rebuked it in the name of Jesus to leave me alone. And that seemed to help. So I went back to bed and went to sleep. Well, time passed a little bit, and I started walking in the woods and started reading more about Bigfoot, and was just really interested in it. And I happened upon a tree structure, and it was sort of like a teepee, but not really. Uh, and it was right at the edge of the creek. I didn't have to walk very far. I made a path from my yard out into the woods along the creek, and I found this tree structure. Well, I took pictures of it and examined it and shared it with people, and they seemed to agree that that's what it looked like it was. So I started noticing footprints along the river, the Badgley Creek down here, and some of them had toes, some of them didn't. Some of them were huge, and some of them weren't. But I'm a farm girl, so I'm familiar with all kinds of animals and creatures and things. So I knew what a coyote's footprint and a wildcat and a wolf and deer and muskrat and raccoon, whatever. I know all those. But this looked more like human. But they were so
mm.
big and they were so deep that there'd be like one or two, and then there wouldn't be any. But they'd be right at the edge of the creek, like probably walked in the creek and maybe by accident walked out. So I kept note of everything. I've got a little book, and it's called Bigfoot Wildlife Journal. So I've
Oh,
journaled
nice.
everything, and then that fall, things got a little bit quieter. But I continued to walk in the woods, and I decided I'd go farther back in the woods. Well, when I got back in there, I walked probably anywhere from a quarter to half a mile back in there. There's 300 acres of just woodland behind me. No houses or anything. Neighbors, um, oh, 50 yards from the house in another direction. But back in this area of the woods, there wasn't anything. So I noticed all kinds of structures back there. anywhere from like a rainbow structure. Trees looked like they were broken off and twisted.
Oh, wow.
And so I started documenting all that stuff and taking pictures. And I never was afraid to be out in there. And I still am not, even though I've encountered a lot of things. Another thing that happened to me, I was upset about something one day, and I was talking to one of my girlfriends on the phone, and it was getting dark, and it was starting to rain. And I was sitting on my front porch by a table in a chair on my deck, and the rain was coming down, and it was probably 10 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden, something was thrown in my direction. There's a road that goes up past my house to get out of where I live. There's one more house clear at the end of my road, but it's on a kind of a steep incline. So those people across the road are working individuals. They don't have young children. They're in their 50s. And then on the other side, they had teenagers, and it, they weren't out. It was raining. So I'll show you what I've got. I weighed it. This is what was thrown at me. It's a hunk of this made quite a sound when it hit the gravel road. It weighed,
I would imagine,
almost 2 pounds.
Okay, yeah, solid stone.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
is that like part of the road?
Yeah, but my road out front is gravel. There's none of this stuff. There's none of this stuff, and it just come flying. I saw it coming because I had a light on out there where I could see things, what was happening. And here come this chunk of stuff across the road. So I hung up and immediately went out and grabbed it. And I said, "Who's up there throwing stuff?" I took a flashlight. There's nobody out there in those woods. No one. So let's see. That next morning, I went out, and I had like a welcome mat out there. And on the welcome mat was about the same size as this thing, which I would say probably 5 inches around and maybe about, I don't know. But there was a chunk of like green moss, like you find when you're out in the woods. It was laying right when I stepped out onto my deck. There was that big hunk of green moss. So things started adding up. Somebody told me one time, one or two things that, you kind of can shrug it off. But when you start having all this stuff and you keep it all together and you keep track of it, then you start to understand that there's more to it.
Right.
So I felt that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's all right. I was just curious. Do you think the moss, the chunk of moss, might have been like a gift of some sort?
I think it knew it frightened me. And so I thanked him for it. It was daylight. I just said thank you, and I brought it in the house and kept it. Then I started going out in the evening and sitting in the swing on the porch and listening. I started hearing grunts and sort of growls, and then the coyotes got, they'd get stirred up. But right at the end of the coyotes, I would hear something that I could tell wasn't a coyote. Like I said, I've been around coyotes 50 some years, and I knew that's what I wasn't hearing. So then I heard what sounded like cows. Like, I had cattle for years, and I had a bull, and I knew when a bull would bellow what it sounded like. This sounded like something imitating. Moo, moo. And then I thought, well, that's weird. But then I'd hear it in all 4 directions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, north, south, and south. There's no cattle around here for 3 or 4 miles probably or more. I can't honestly tell you where there are any cattle. But it sounded like it was in my backyard. And so I'd get down with a flashlight and look around, and Uh, the thing is, it's really strange because I've encountered so much stuff in my lifetime, nothing scares me anymore. Um, Only thing that scares me is the thought of maybe Dog Man being out there. I don't want to see
Right.
that thing. But
Yeah.
then things started heating up here, tree knocks. And then
Mm.
that following autumn, a horrible smell came in the window. And, like I said, I'm around all kinds of wildlife. It wasn't skunk. I know what the skunk is, and it wasn't deer musk. Um, I've, like I said, I lived on a 52-acre farm, and I know what when deer are in rut and stuff, that smell that they have wasn't that. So it just went sort of like it was walking by the window, and I smelled it, and then it was gone. And anybody knows that if they've run over a skunk or been in the area where a skunk is, that keeps that doesn't dissipate that easily. So I went outside and I heard a whistle, and it was coming from the western woods. So I thought, I've got to go down in those woods and see what's down in there. So at the time, I had a little chihuahua, and we walked down in there, and by golly, I found um, the trees, the structures. And I heard strange noises. It's a perfect area down in there. And then there's another area that my neighbors that live further out, they would occasionally make a path. And they're older, they both work, and they made a path through the woods with their 4-wheeler. Well, they don't ride that anymore, but a few years ago they had ridden it some and kept the weeds down. And I went up there, and there was the biggest rainbow, you know what I mean, by the bow of the tree,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
held down with other trees. There was one tree up there that it was way up. I would say 12 to 15 feet up. And it was balanced. You couldn't see where that thing broke off. It was just placed up there. And it's kind of a deep woods. So time went by, and 2018, I decided to go. A friend came down, and he and I went out in the woods. We're walking along, and I said, "Look at that thing up in the tree." There was a tree about, oh, I suppose a tree's 15 feet tall. It was about maybe 20 inches in circumference. It was kind of like an elm or something. I don't know what it was exactly, but there was a deer skull. And it
Oh,
was up at the top of that tree.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I've got it here. I can show you if you'd like.
Now, did the deer skull appear to be wedged or just?
It was placed up there.
Oh wow! Like how high up would you say?
About 8 feet.
Okay. Wow.
Can you see this thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I see it very clear. Yeah.
So I decided,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
just
very
going to go
awesome.
home. I'm just going to leave that skull there. So we went home,
Okay.
and then he went home, and he called me about 3 in the afternoon. He said, "Why don't you go out there and get that deer skull?" And I thought, well, it's daylight. I'll do that. So I went out there with a great big hiking stick and a Walmart bag. so, so I went out there and I poked around and I got it in the eye socket, big old eye socket. And I thought, perfect. So I pushed up and it came right down, and I grabbed it, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know. So I thought, I'm going to take it home anyway. So I put it down in my Walmart bag and I start off. Well, I am probably an eighth of a mile back in the woods by myself. It's the middle of the afternoon, but there's those woods are dark and deep. And there were a lot of multiflora rose and a lot of honeysuckle. So I'm like, well, if Bigfoot put it there, it must want me to have it because it knew that I walked out there just about every day. I'd go out there, and there was nobody else around out in there. So I'm like, I'm just going to take it. So I took it, and I turn left and think, I'm going to go down Badgley Creek. I'm just going to walk the creek back instead of the path. And I turn and I walk maybe a yard, and I hear something right in front of me, about 10 feet away, is a group of multiflora rose. Now, if you live in the country, you know what multiflora rose is. It just grows wild and it grows tall. And I thought, what is that noise? I listened, and what it sounded like was wild pigs.
Oh, wow.
It was like, and I'm like, all I could think of was like when I was a kid, I watched Old Yeller and the wild pigs. The wild pigs got Old Yeller, and it just sounded like I'm fighting. And I had just read not too long ago that they were making a comeback in West Virginia, and I'm like, oh, I'm dead. I'm going to have rabies. So I had that. I thought, I'm still taking my skull, whatever it is. I'll just throw it at them if they're coming after me. So I stood there a minute, and I thought, it sounded like that, what they call the samurai chatter.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And there were two of them, and they were talking back and forth. And I thought, that sounded like two of them fighting. And I thought, oh, I got that one skull. And it's mad. But one of them got really gruff at the other one, and I still couldn't see anything. And I was looking, trying to see, and I was frozen. I couldn't move. And I've told people I'm just like, my feet wouldn't go anywhere. I was just standing there in the middle of the woods, holding that bag, listening to those things fight. And next thing I know, one of them's walking away, screaming that rah. And I'm like, oh God, I'm dead. So that time I thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to walk over to the creek, and I'm going to sit down on a rock, lean against a tree, because they tell you it doesn't do any good to run. It just doesn't do any good to run. I mean, they could catch you in a minute if they wanted to. And if they wanted to hurt me, they would have. So I went over, but I put my feet in the creek, and I sat there, and I dropped it, and it went out of the sack, and I'm still hearing one of them screaming, but then I didn't hear anything. And I sort of, part Native American. It's far back, but I thought, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to chant.
Oh,
so I sat there and I was like, I'm not making fun. Trust me. That was like, I'm going to say something and maybe they'll understand it.
I've done the same thing when I'm out in the woods camping. If I'm by myself, sometimes I've done that by myself, and it's actually kind of relaxing, to be honest with you. I mean, but hey, I want to interrupt you also again. I don't know if you can see the question on the screen. One of our viewers is asking, did Linda not see the rest of the deer skeleton anywhere when she found the skull?
Oh, no, not this time. But there's another time. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Anyway, I started walking back to the creek, and I made it back to the house. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with this skull now? So I hung it. I've got a veranda that overhangs the back here. But no, there were no other bones there but that. All that was there was that. I mean, if somebody put it up there, why would they put it up there? It's a nice deer skull. It's a 1, 2, 3. It's a 8-point buck, I think.
Okay.
So anyway, that was the end of that one. Well, let's see. Just this past summer, I went out there, and I hadn't been going in that area very much, but I I continued to find more and more structures and hearing more and more things. And then I had a dream. And I've heard other people say that I have dreams that come true and stuff. But this one, there was a young couple, and they decided they were going to build a house up here behind us in the woods. So they had it cleared off, and I thought I'm going to walk up there and see what I can see. And I looked at it and stuff, and I came back down and got ready and went to bed. And I dreamed, I heard a big male Bigfoot coming toward me, and I sat down. I thought, I can't do it. I can't run. I'm just going to sit down. And I sat down. It was so real. And he walked up to me and he said, like, where is everybody else at? And I said, it was like it was like telepathically. And I said, I'm here by myself. And I said, what's your name? And he said his name was Ashtor. I know all this sounds crazy, but
No,
that's how life is, isn't it?
no, that's very fascinating. I'm actually intrigued on this. So, yeah, keep going.
But then another one came, and it was a smaller one, and it was female. And I said, "Is that your woman?" And he said, "Yeah, her name is Vera Meg." And I said, "Okay." And I looked, and there were two smaller ones looking around a tree. And then I woke up with a start, and I thought, my God, that was crazy. So not too long ago, I went back out in the woods in another area, and this time I found almost the entire skeleton. Now, usually when a deer dies, and you can Google it and find it, they don't last very long in the woods.
No, they don't. No.
You see those maggots going after it, and flies and stuff. And I think it's like a week and it's gone.
Yep. About a week. Yep.
So I thought, man, that's weird. And it was right below where I found that other skull, right below that tree. So I thought, I'm going to go back out there in a couple weeks and I'm going to see if that's gone. Well, all the bones were gone except the skull. Look at this baby. Can you see it?
Yeah, I'll put you up on let me put you up on the big screen. There we go. Yeah, you might have to bring it more to the center there.
There he is.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Isn't that
now, what's that? Is that the 8-pointer? Yeah.
This 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is 8 point. Yeah, this is 8 point. There it is. And so I'm like, I thought I'm going to take it and see if they come after me again. But, but they didn't. But they continued to let me know that they were around. My son Chris, he came up from Texas during COVID, and he lives here now with me. I'm not by myself anymore. But one night we were out on the porch listening for things, and we heard these owls, what we thought were owls, but it sounded fake. And there was like 4 of them. They came right to the house, and it was dark, and we couldn't see them. But they were out there for quite a while. And then one went north, one went south, one went east, and one went west. And they hooted for a while, and then that was it. So then fast forward a little bit till this past April, I think it was, my granddaughter, Meredith, who is 13, she'll be 14 soon, she was out here staying with us. And, Chris went outside to take the dog. for a walk, and it was about 6 o'clock, but it was still getting dark. And Meredith went out with him. Well, they heard some weird noises down in the woods, and Meredith got cold, so she came in, and I was in here running the sweeper and picking up and stuff. So we were going to watch TV, and she was in here with me. And Chris came in, and he said he heard bam, 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 did it like 6 times. We had an old utility trailer down here in our back. Our house is like 3 stories, and there's nothing in the back except windows, and then on one end is a veranda and a porch. So I said I didn't hear anything. I was running the sweeper, and Meredith was sitting in here, and he said it's like somebody took a great big hammer or something, was banging on that metal. And I said, well, I don't know what it was. Probably those creatures. And up to that point, I don't think he had heard very much, had you? And then we started hearing things knocking on the wall outside. And it started out like on the west end of the house, in which is up about 15 feet. Bam! And then we'd hear another one over here on the south end. Bam! And that's even higher. That's probably 25 feet up. And then in the kitchen there, bam! And that went on for several hours. He called the police, you know, and they came down. They took flashlight, shone around and left. But then it continued. And I said, I'm going to take Meredith downstairs and see that she goes to sleep. Well, she didn't want to sleep by herself. And I said, well, you can stay in my room. And before we did that, it hit again. Bam! Chris goes in the bedroom and gets a sword. And he's going to banish him with a sword. And I'm sitting there. I was like, welcome to my world. And Meredith was like, I'm scared. And I said, just don't worry about it. If they wanted to get in, they'd come in. The police didn't see anything, but they continued till, I don't know. Meredith and I went to bed, and I shut the bedroom door, and it's on the southwest side of the house, down 1 story. And I locked the door, and we heard it bang right above my bedroom door, and it was like they knew where we were. And she said, I'm scared. And I said, just go sleep, forget about it. I said, isn't anybody, I've got my phone, I'll call the police if I have to, it's nothing. And Chris, he goes to bed upstairs here in his room. Then all of a sudden, Meredith was all cuddled up there and scared, and it sounded like somebody took a handful of rocks and threw it on the inside of the closed bedroom door, and it just like shattered against it. I said, that's it, I'm done. So I turned the light on, and I come up, and I got Chris, and he came downstairs for a little bit. Meredith fell asleep. He fell asleep, so I came upstairs and sat in the chair. That was 3 o'clock in the morning, and that was... So they've calmed down for a while, but they're starting that in the fall. It seems to pick up. I don't know whether and I continue to see barefoot in the snow, prints on the porch. I've seen, took the dog a walk, and this is the only time I saw it. Up our road, I suppose it's probably, I don't know, 1/8 of a mile straight up to where you have to take our garbage for the collection. Everybody puts their stuff up there to a big bin. It was dark. It was 10 o'clock at night. I'm walking up this road. I've got a flashlight, but I turned it off. It was kind of moonlight, so it was nice. It was quiet. And we're walking up there. She stops. My dog stops. I'm like, what's the matter, Phoebe? She won't go any further. I look up to see what and I continue to walk up the road. I see that thing walk from left to right behind the trash barrel through the trees. The backlight hits it, and I can make out its silhouette. So that next day, I called the neighbors and asked them if they were out there. No, nobody. What I saw the next day when I went up there was everything where I thought it had walked. All the brush was kind of brushed down, and I looked about where it walked, and I would estimate that thing to be between 9 and 10 feet tall. So that's the only time I saw it. But I know it's out there. I believe in them. And that's my story.
Okay.
Sticking to it.
So, yeah, as far you said that you believe you estimated to be 9 to 10 feet tall. What time of day or evening was this?
This is 10 o'clock at night, 10:15 at night. It was dark. It was dark, but the moon shone a little bit. It was like behind the clouds, but yet it lit up the area. And the area where I saw it, it was just a good silhouette. I was probably 30 yards from it.
Okay.
25 to 30 yards from it. Good enough that I could see head and shoulders and, make out that it was a live thing walking there. It wasn't a deer. I could see the head and the arms going, and it just walked on the other side of the tree line, which was behind where the trash bin is. It walked. The trash bin is probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet wide and 3 feet tall. And it was behind that. There was a little bit of area and then a tree line. And it was walking from right to left. And I watched it just walked. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But my dog would not go. She knew it was up there. And so that's
okay. Yeah, regardless day or night, if you get a vision of them, there's no denying when you see them. I mean, trust me. And you were talking about the moonlight at nighttime. I've been out in the woods numerous times, day and night, hiking, camping, whatever. And yeah, I mean, when the moon's out, even if there's a slight overcast or there's clouds up there, I know how the moon illuminates the area, But yeah, there is a question for you. Susan wants to know if you ever gifted them anything.
Yes, apples.
Apples, okay.
Numerous times. And I took where do you get ice cream in those plastic containers that have the little handle on it? And I would in that and put it up high and they'd be gone. And then I had a tree, I called it the gifting tree. And I put bottles of water and a ball out there one time. And I think I took it a sandwich one time and a piece of pie. But then tried to catch them on film. There's no way. They seemed to know when I had the camera out front. I'd get raccoons and, possums and that kind of thing. But they just come to the house. But where I gifted was up high. And I'd tie a string on apples sometime and put them way up. And but yeah, they will take stuff. And like I said, that one time they brought me that beautiful hunk of moss.
Yeah, that was interesting for sure. Because the moss ain't gonna fall from the fall from the sky. It was definitely intentionally placed there. That's for sure. So, yeah. But what would you say is your scariest experience ever?
You mean with the Bigfoot?
Yeah, or if there was anything else, Bigfoot or anything for that matter.
Oh, Chris reminded me of the one time that another friend of ours from the Round Town UFO Society, Cameron Jones. Now he does talks on Mothman and Bigfoot and UFOs. He came down and stayed. And we walked out the road to the west, from the house to the west, to my left, out that way. And Cameron and I were standing in the road, and I walked out the path, and I didn't have a light or anything, and I just walked out the path. And he said, Linda, and I said, yeah. And he said, where are you? And I said, I'm out here. And he said, you didn't just walk around me? And I said, no. And he was freaking out. And we came back, and he said, I'm going downstairs. I said, just leave all the lights on. He said, it makes me uneasy. And I said, well, we went on the veranda one more time. It's about 11:30 at night. And I said, I'm going to knock on the table and see if we get any answers. And I went, knock, knock, knock. And something down on the trees went, knock, knock, knock. And he said, that's it. I'm leaving.
Oh, wow.
So
no, that's awesome, though.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And that was just maybe 25 feet from where we were, but it was dark and we couldn't see anything.
Yeah, I find it very exciting if you get a response. I mean, I get responses on occasions. I mean, one thing I've learned: responses are not guaranteed to happen, but when they do, you're thankful for them, and it excites you. I mean, because it's like something wants to interact with you, you know. So, you know,
one
absolutely.
other time, I took a walk, and I got so far out in the woods on, on the eastern side. I walked a creek, and I walked up over the hill, and it was getting late. And I thought, oh, it's getting dark. I've got to go. Well, when you're in the woods, and you know this, when you're in the woods, it gets dark quick. It might not be dark out, you know, but if you're in the deep woods, it gets dark. So it was getting dark, and I started down over the hill, and I got down to the creek, and I heard growling up to my left. Now, I can tell you what that was, but it didn't sound good, so I got out of there quick. But I still go. You know, it's not going to stop me. I want to see it. I want to see it. And I can feel. I'm an empath, and I can feel when they're around. And I think there's certain times a year that they're around, maybe passing through even. But this time of year, right now, this is a good time. But I don't go in the woods in November because of the deer season.
Right. Oh, okay. I was just about to ask you. You got a lot of hunters around the area that come in.
I've never seen one, but you can hear, you know, a gunshot will carry for quite a ways. You can hear them a couple miles, 3 or 4, 5 miles away. You can hear it, and it echoes through this valley here. And but I just play it safe. I don't go down the woods when. Yeah.
Well, just out of curiosity, this question is I've been kind of flooding in my mind here a little bit, but as far as having anyone, like for example, I'll throw myself out there. Like, would you welcome me to come down there sometime with a couple of my team members?
That'd be absolutely fine.
Okay.
We've got a big house. Isn't that okay? We have a big house. We have I have a bedroom downstairs, and there's also like a family room. It's got a king size bed in it, and there's bunk beds. And then there's the room upstairs here, and we got couch and love seat, and yeah, that's fine. That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah.
Where do you live? Where do you live?
Well, I'm not in West Virginia, but I'm actually in Virginia. I'm probably about 3 hours from you. Yeah, I'm 3 to 4 hours, I'm guessing. Yeah. So,
that'd be great.
Yeah, well, you said you're close to Parkersburg. I don't know if I've been. I'm trying to think if I've been to Parkersburg. I've been to Petersburg, West Virginia, I think, down by. Wait, Parkersburg. That ain't okay. No, you're close to Ohio.
I'm near the river.
Yeah, so you're probably about more around 4 hours, 4.5 hours, which is not a bad drive. I mean, I'm driving 6 to 7 hours here this weekend to go to South Carolina. So
you see, you would come up 77 probably, and
right
to Route 50, and then we're real easy to find.
Okay. Well, of course,
I
I would
just,
be.
I don't want to hurt them. I don't want anybody else to hurt them. And I know
Oh,
I read that's how you felt too, that you were
exactly.
conservationist, and that's how I am. I'm real soft-hearted and tender-hearted, and I think they know that because I think that's why they leave me alone, and I think they protect
Absolutely.
me. Mhm.
Yeah, that's the main thing is a lot of people's like, well, there's some people out there like, well, why do you bother going to look for them? It's not about trying to find them. I mean, there's maybe a small part of it, yeah, but
Mhm.
me, any kind of experience that might teach me something, and then by me
Mhm.
learning, I want to share what I learned. That's how I am. My whole thing is about spreading awareness. And a lot of people hear me say that a lot, and they probably think I sound like a broken record to some people, because I use that in presentations sometimes about spreading awareness. Um, you know, uh, some people's like, well, you think they need to be protected? Well, basically, they're protected on their own, um, but then again, there's a lot of other issues that people think about too, which like what happens if they do become officially discovered? And then, well, I would think that they would have to be protected under legal law because the forest is their home.
It's
You
just
know,
like
and,
eagles and hawks around here, and I don't.
right?
Osprey too, I think, but especially the eagles. Oh, they're building along the river now, and you see the eagle nest, the bald
Hmm.
eagles. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And when
Oh
I was
yeah.
growing up, there was nothing like that. And now even seagulls. And when I was a kid, I lived right on the riverbank growing up, and I never saw a seagull, but now you see them when you get down to the river. It's beautiful here along the high river where we live. Uh,
Oh yeah. I can
we live
imagine.
we live out, but we're close to town and the river and all the things that you take advantage of. And like I said, we're about 45 minutes or so from Point Pleasant, and there's Wheeling not too far away. And if you're interested in the Moundsville and different places, there's a lot to see in this area. But yet
Yeah, I
there's
got
a
a
lot of forest.
yeah, I got a good friend of mine who actually lives in West Virginia. I believe he's located out of Morgantown. I believe. You may know him, Les Odell.
He's a good friend of mine.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, Les is a great guy, and I know
Mhm.
he's done a research. He's done a study on mounds and stuff throughout West Virginia and the surrounding general areas. So, yeah, I know he's a little familiar with some of the mounds out there. So,
Yes.
but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, more.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, how far are you from Morgantown? Because I know that's that's probably
Um,
under 4 hours from me.
yeah, about 2 hours, Chris said. But
Okay.
it's not a bad drive, you know.
Oh
It,
yeah, awesome. So we have another question from the gentleman who asked earlier. I don't know. I say gentleman. I don't even know if it's a male or female, but they go by Grinning Owl. um, wants to know if I wonder if anyone has ever gifted them a whistle or other items that make a noise or music. Yeah.
um, I know that I played the flute, the Native American flute, and they seem to, after that, then it picks up a little bit.
Mm.
Uh, and that's the only thing I know. I have had music on when I've been outside before, and but I never given them anything like that. But that's a good idea. That's something that
Oh yeah.
I have a whistle in there. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. I never even thought about taking it for my own protection. Like I said, I don't even think, and I think that's why if I don't take my phone, it seems like I can feel 'em more around. But I like to go and take pictures. Uh, I figure I've caught them before and just don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay, very cool. And Grinning Owl, the one who asked that question, actually answered my question in regards to them on their gender. They say I sit down to pee, so their answer is that. Thank you, Grinning Owl.
Uh,
Well, if I was a chief Indian and had to give you a name, I would have to call you Squat now. Nah, just
Squat now.
nah, I'm just joking. I like being goofy sometimes. So.
Oh well, you have to be, in the world we
Yeah.
live in, you got to find
Oh,
you. You have to.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, as far as any kind of future investigations, I would definitely I would talk to you more privately off live, like more 1-on-1. Um, but yeah, because I've been working on scheduling some investigations. I have one pretty much we can go at any time. It's just I'm waiting on my team members that are going to be going with me on one of these other ones. I got another one in West Virginia. A friend of mine wants me to investigate her property around her cabin, and and then but
Salt
yeah, it
Fork's a
depends on
good place. Salt Fork.
was it Salt Fork. Yeah, I've been there
They
once.
have
That
conference. Mhm.
Yeah, I've been there back in 2017, and I've been wanting to get back since. And of course, I attended the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, but I did very little scouting around. We stayed in a cabin, and it was the woods around there was beautiful. So,
Yep.
uh, but yeah, I have yet to really get up there. And I mean, yeah, if I go up there again, yeah, I would attend the conference again. But I would try to spend at least make sure I have a couple days to do some exploring.
Another
I
good
know.
area, Hocking Hills, Ohio. Old Man's Cave.
Oh, yeah, that's another place because I know I have some friends of mine that spoke at the conference up there that they had with B Mills that hosted that event. So
I know
yeah,
B. Yeah.
yeah, she was one of my speakers this past June over here in Virginia at my event. So
Yeah,
so
she's pretty awesome girl.
yeah, she is very cool. I was honored that she agreed to come down and be one of my speakers. So. And
Mhm.
yeah, she did an amazing job. She's a great and gifted person. So
She is.
yeah, absolutely. Now,
Oh,
now, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know if you were because you kind of before I had you on here, you seem a little familiar. Were you at the Sutton, West Virginia event? The Sutton, West Virginia Bigfoot Festival.
if we didn't go to that,
No,
did
it
we?
was raining really bad.
Yeah, that's when it was raining.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Because well, see, the speakers, we were actually inside, and yeah, we were inside. We saw it did downpour real good.
Is that
Luckily, it
the
did
one
pass.
is that the one at Sutton?
Yeah, downtown Sutton. Yeah.
Now, do you know Ron Lanham?
Yes, I met him once. Yeah, I met him
Okay,
once.
yeah, he said that everybody had such a good time.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, despite the rain did kind of let up after a while, but I was actually very surprised. It had a very large turnout considering the rain because the year before that, it was, oh my goodness, it was severely hot. The weather was miserable. I
It's
was
like
I was there. Yeah, I got so hot. I mean, I was getting sick the year before, so but
careful.
now we had rain, so
The Flatwoods Monster Museum and the Bigfoot Museum, they're both awesome. Have
yeah.
you been in both of those?
Yeah, I've been to the Flatwoods Monster Museum and then the Bigfoot Museum. It was so crowded when I walked in there. I only got like to walk through the gift shop area. I didn't actually get to go through. Yeah, it was crowded. So,
I think
but
Les Odell was the one that he has a lot to do with the Bigfoot Museum. He has a lot of his
yeah, he's
footprints
a big he's a big contributor to that. He donated a lot of stuff that's in that museum. So
Mhm.
absolutely, yeah. So yeah, and that's only about from my house. It's about a 3.5 hour drive, like west from where I'm at. I mean, there's a couple different ways I could go. Either way is about almost the same distance, but it's a beautiful drive out there. That's for sure. So
I think it's
yeah,
about 2 hours from here. You just
okay,
go right across the state, and then you have to go down, and there's a kind of a jolt that you have to kind of go back up. But it's not a bad ride. It's pretty. It's beautiful over in there.
okay,
I camped over there. That's another story. Long ago, probably about 2015. We took horses, a bunch of us, and campers and tents, and a friend and my daughter and her boys. And those boys were so afraid because I was teasing them. It was dark, and that that's before I moved out here and had all these experiences. But I was banging on trees, and they were in bed in their tent, and they had a machete and lanterns and stuff. And I got to laughing, and I went and sat down by the fire. I was the last one to go to bed, and I heard a big old growl up on the hill and a knock. So I thought, oh boy, and we were way out in just a remote place. It wasn't even a camping area. We just pulled over and by a stream.
Oh, wow.
So we were out where there was no one, and our horses got loose and they took up all over the mountains.
Oh no.
That was an experience. So I when they come back, I asked them if they saw Bigfoot, but they wouldn't tell me.
Wow. Yeah. That's the kind of camping I prefer to do is primitive. You know, I mean, campgrounds are fun. They're nice. They're relaxing to a certain extent if you've got a family, you know, but yeah, I prefer like where I go camping. It's about almost an hour from me. And it's, when you're out in the national forest where I camp is about 5 to 6 miles from the West Virginia line. And it's just so relaxing because sometimes certain times of the year you get a lot of people out there. But it's not a regular campground. It's basically anywhere you find an open area. You know, there's a lot of open areas where people pull in a camp. So, yeah, it's all primitive. I mean, the lake that's in the area, as soon as you pull into the entrance, there is a Johnny, I call it a national forest Johnny house. Unless you prefer, unless you use the bathroom out in the woods, but I've had to do that numerous times. Yeah, right. So, unfortunately, every now and then, if you survey the camp areas that you pick, you'll see that some people just leave their mess out in the open instead of burying it or try to discard of it, which is kind of disgusting. But what are you going to do?
That might be Bigfoot. Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah, when was the last time you had any major experiences out there? Was it
this morning? This morning, and I heard those cattle noises, which I know they're not cattle.
Last night.
And last night he heard something when he went outside to walk the dog. He said he heard growling and carrying on, and like I said this morning, they were like, "Ooh." And it's like, okay. But this is the time of year I think it picks up, and then over the winter it kind of settles down. And I think maybe they move somewhere where it's warmer, where there's caves or something. I think they travel through, and then about April it starts picking up again when there's berries and fruit and different things where they can. But our neighbors have had all the apple tree was just loaded, and the next morning every apple was gone.
Oh wow!
So they believe in them, but they don't think about it.
Right. No, that's interesting. Yeah, because I noted, with what you said, the activity around those certain times of year. Yeah, it's like my experiences, I picked up over the years happen around the early to mid spring or early to mid fall before it gets too cold, which is interesting. And then of course, they know when man moves in the forest, they're gonna, either back off or like if the food source moves, I believe they got to go where the food source goes, Yeah, absolutely.
In the winter would be a good time if you could bundle up and go out. Then you could find if they were there. If they weren't gone, you'd find food.
Right.
If there was snow, And that's another thing. 2 Christmases ago, we had a really heavy snow, and it was Christmas morning, and I just went out with my camera and I thought I'm going to take some pictures. It was just beautiful. Everything was covered with snow, and a tree. We hear trees falling all the time, and there's no wind. And this tree, and I know it was too big for snow to have done it. It fell across the road, And it was just like a look up here, here I am. Bam, there it went. And
Wow.
but we hear trees fall all the time.
Yeah, what's interesting was, well, I just got back from camping the other day for a few days, but 2 weeks ago, a whole group of us were camping out, but a couple of us got there 2 days earlier before the rest of the group showed up, and it was like three of us just sitting there. I think it was around one. It was between 1 and 3 o'clock, and we're sitting there. Didn't have the fire going, but we're sitting out there around where the campfire pit is. And like I said, it's dead quiet, dead calm. We're just talking amongst ourselves. And all of a sudden, we hear this loud knock, then a crack, and we turn around, and we all see it over by the creek bed where part of it was dried up, but right off the edge of the creek bed, we see this tree. Look, I got up like, what did that? Or then I got to think, okay, it might have been just one of those standing trees that were rotted, just waiting to fall, and it just finally decided to give way. But I felt like maybe there might have been something there that did it, but I never saw anything. But it's like I was excited. I said, all right, I saw a tree fall, but what did it? There was no wind, nothing whatsoever. So it was kind of exciting, though. But regardless of if there was something there or not. But now, I personally, and I don't judge anyone that does, but I don't believe in cloaking. But I mean, what's your take on that?
More and more, I'm turning towards interdimensional. Is that what you call it? A creature that a creature that can come and go as it pleases through another dimension. And a few years ago, I would have never thought that. First, I started out thinking it was Gigantopithecus.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, I think if it was it, there would be more, you would be more apt to see it. And I don't know, it has to have some way, either going underground, some way of getting out from when people are, but it disappears so quickly. Different times I've been out in the woods, just like those ones that I felt like it was only about 10 or 15 feet away. And I've had something whoop at me too, behind my pine tree over here. And I thought I can even look. And when I looked, I could hear something run into the forest, but there was nothing there. But I could hear the footsteps. So it's either cloaking, a real good way of having camouflage, just like deer. There could be a deer real close to you when you're out in the woods. Unless it moves, you sometimes don't even see it.
You're absolutely right. That I've had that happen to me numerous times.
Kind of startled you.
Yeah. I've actually walked up on deer, and I don't know. I mean, you think they should have been gone before I seen them or walked up on them. They should have heard me coming, but I've walked up on deer and give me a heart attack. Like, whoa, But I can recall just like driving down the forest road, and I would just stop, and all of a sudden I'm looking up in the woods up on a hill, and also I'm staring there. I'm not seeing nothing but trees. And all of a sudden, one flicker of a tail or ear, then all of a sudden it becomes into focus. Like there's a whole bunch of them, one in a little one
you
cluster.
See there's the white tails going like that.
Yeah, I said, wow. I mean, so I know a lot of wildlife blend in naturally. And my take on Bigfoot, and this is just my personal view and opinion, but just like when primatologists like Jane Goodall, when they're in the jungles and they're observing these big mountain gorillas in their own natural environment, I mean, I know they could go behind the foliage that's 10 to 15 feet right in front of you, and they're like, even though they're still there, they're gone.
Right. Just kind of blend into it.
Right. A lot of people believe the Bigfoots blend in and could almost look like a tree if you don't know what you're looking for. But then again, they've also been known as, I'm sure you've heard it, ninjas of the forest, shadows of the forest. They're like masters of stealth. They have this master stealth ability, where a lot of people say they're super fast, which I believe that. But then again, I haven't had that much experience to say how fast they really are,
we have a neighbor over here, and he doesn't live over here anymore. But when he lived over here, he had a taxidermy shop, so he knew all the critters, what they look like in the woods and stuff. And he saw something about 2 miles from here, but it was running on all fours. Now, have you heard that they do that? He said
I've heard.
It was just it got down and ran on all fours.
Now, I've heard, not personally, not firsthand reports, but I've heard other stories along the throughout the years where a lot of people have seen them come out in the middle of the road on all fours and stand up and take off on 2 feet, or the opposite. They'll come out on 2 feet and then get down on all fours and take off. I have heard of that a few times, but I haven't had no firsthand encounters or direct reports from others. So
that's why the way to escape real quickly behind trees and brush is just to get down and run on all fours.
Right, absolutely. I think it depends on what's faster for them, what's more convenient, what allows them to get out of the area faster. I mean, I personally think going down on all fours could be their way of ducking down and not being seen. The average human, we see, I don't know, if we're deer hunting, we usually do look for something that's just below our, just to the above of our waist level and higher. We're not looking at the ground all the time like we should be. So but so absolutely. Bigfoot is an amazing being, regardless of how you want to look at him. He's very fascinating, and I don't know if we'll ever fully learn and understand about Bigfoot, but we could try. And most of our knowledge that we may have of Bigfoot is based off our self experiences, and how we may perceive what we're experiencing as well. So, tell you what, we are getting ready to come to a close, but I want to give you the floor. I always do this with every guest. If there's anything you want to share or throw out there, even if you want to promote something, you're more than welcome to do so. So how about it, Linda?
Well, my life has always been like this from the time I was 3 years old. The best knowledge that I can give to anybody to think about is to embrace it. I used to worry about people worrying about me being weird. But it comes, whether it's UFOs, Mothman, any kind of cryptid, I think we need to have we want to be like little children and learn all we can about it and try not to be afraid. So I think that's basically what, and I sure thank you for having me on. It's been fun.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't thank you enough for agreeing to come on. So, I will definitely be in touch with you here in the near future. See if we could schedule something or work something out. Where we can both, if it works with both of our schedules or whatnot. So, and everybody that's been watching tonight, thank you guys for tuning in. If you're new to watching this, please subscribe. That way you can stay up to date on our next upcoming podcast when we do go live. Make sure you click that little bell icon. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys very much and keep it squatchy.